Hello, everyone. This is Becker, and I was thinking about what to share tonight um, for this week's video. I've still got a couple books I'm working on, so I'm not quite ready for another book review. But I just wanted to put something up and share some things. And as I was thinking about that, I was kind of going through um, what it is I might talk about, and I I shared some things with my brothers that were uh, commonly known in the era of our founding fathers, and we had a discussion about that particular point. Then we also talked about how some people choose to say that we're not able to understand what people were thinking in the past, except that that's the whole point of books. I mean, that's the whole point of books, right? Is that you can read someone else's story and learn about them and understand them. Now that doesn't mean you're going to know exactly every thought that they have, but you're going to be able to understand the things that are important to them. You're going to be able to understand the things that how they think about, excuse me, some things, not every little detail, but you're going to be able to understand the things that they frame and they talk about. Stoics, go back to Marcus Aurelius, and um, a lot of what they talk about and share and is kind of derived, all come out of his writings. Um, Philosophy, whole school of philosophy comes out of, was it Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle? Those three guys right there, and one of them may not actually have existed. What would I have helped create a life on is reading about other people's experiences. Um, and I just did the book review for Sacred Marriage last week, and I've done book reviews on the Slight Edge and Seven Levels of Communication. Or, yeah, Seven Levels of Communication. Those are just ones I've done recently. And one of the things that I repeat all the time about reading is that it's the fastest way to gain someone else's experience. You you take a book like, this one, Sacred Marriage, for example. So much research was done into that book to bring it about. You take How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success and Selling by Frank Fetcher, and he literally takes his experiences and writes them down for people. And that started with him telling those stories, just standing up and talking and telling people how he did things and his experiences and how he learned. You go to Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey, and that came out of his research into leadership and into leadership writing. And one of the things that he had realized in his work is that there had come a shift from internal focus on ourselves, improving ourselves, to not accepting responsibility is the way that my mind frames it. And he probably said something much more brilliant and much more um tactful. Tactful was the word I was looking for. You read a history book. Yes, I know history is written by the victors. People say it all the time, but you can also get a book about the same things written by someone else. There are dozens of biographies on the founding fathers, for example. Okay, maybe half a dozen. I'm just saying, there's a lot of different authors who have taken on that task. David McCullough, did John Adams. Someone else has done Washington. I've got one here for Madison, the last founding. About James Monroe. And that's on the to be read list, just in case you're wondering where that came from. What I try to convey, one of the reasons I do the book reviews and I post online the books I've read that I recommend other people read. The whole reason I do this is to do what somebody did for me. It was my freshman year of high school, and I was in a new school. And if you've ever done the new school thing, that can be hard. That can be hard. And I got to tell you, even when you do it all the time as a military brat, or even somebody who has a corporate job that moves them on a regular basis. I got a buddy, he seems to move every 2 to 3 years with his job, but that's probably because he's so good. I was used to moving, but making friends was still a challenge. Now, other kids didn't have as much of a hard time, but I got really lucky. And this young man sat down in front of me and just said, "Hey, this is my name." And I I go to school here too, just the introduction stuff. And we just kind of connected. And what he did for me that year is he gave me a book. He gave me a book to read that I fell in love with, and I started reading again. And it's that which started then at 14 has continued to go on. Oh, I've read all sorts of things all over the place, and I've spent years reading novels. I read books through my teenage years. I was considering being a cop, being a detective, that whole route. And so when my mom found out I was reading books about police and about criminals, she's like kind of freaked out a little bit. I read a bunch of stuff on Yetis and Sasquatch and all that kind of stuff. So stories, Loch Ness Monster, like all those kind of things. I've read all over the place. But where my heart is at is in these books right here, in leadership and personal development. Because they have given me the most return on my investment outside of scripture, because I'm Christian, as you guys know. These books right here, these ones, the ones on these other shelves over here, they have given me a much greater return on my investment. And I only got to get 1 or 2 nuggets out of each book the first time I read it, and the second time I read it. Excuse me. And each time I read it, I just need to get 1 or 2 nuggets out of that book. You guys have heard me say before that. You guys have heard me say before. I would just lose my train of thought, wouldn't I? You guys have heard me say before, though, that reading is the fastest way to gain knowledge from other people. It's the fastest way to gain other people's experience. So what if it takes you a month to read a book just getting started? So what? Because you're that much farther ahead than you were before. And each day you read a little something and you grow, see me a little more, you're going to get more out of, that book. And maybe the first time you read it, you're just going to get one thing. Or maybe you're going to get like a dozen little things that you can do right away. Boom, 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 boom. What matters most is that you are learning about the great thinkers from the past, learning about them, learning from them, gaining from their wisdom and experience. And that includes great works of literature, wherever they come from. I'm slowly working through a book that I heard recommended by Jordan Peterson. I was like, wait, this what? Like, okay. So I got it, and I've been I've been listening to it because you guys know I do Audible. And I'm not very far into it. But it's giving me something to think about, He recommended it because of what he believes it does. I had a friend this weekend who recommended a couple books written by Christian authors for me to add to my to be read list shelf, my Kindle bookshelf. But that's the thing, is like, I read, I share things with people. I do the book review podcast because I want you guys to pick up a book. And it doesn't matter if you if you buy a book and you cut out the first page, the first and second page, the first two pages, one and two, boom, you read that, throw it away. You go through a whole book. You go through a whole book like that. Or maybe you get the Kindle version on your phone, and anytime you've got a few minutes where you're waiting in line or you're doing something else, boom, and just read every little where you can. That's what a mentor of mine, Chris Brady, says, is read every little place you can. And I agree with him. I can remember carrying around a book as a teenager, and I literally would have my book in my face. And I mean, like, I would be walking and reading like this, and just book right here. Oh, you're gonna trip, you're gonna fall. Not very often at all. But I was first hungry for the stories. In fact, I have an Irish folktales book right here on my desk to read. I've listened to the Japanese folktale. No, I think I read that on Kindle. There's a lot of good things out there. My son listens to a book because he identifies and connects with one of the characters, and that character, his story arc is not similar to my son's, but my son connects with that character. And that's what's powerful for you and me, is when we connect with a character. And the Count of Monte Cristo. That guy's crazy phenomenal. Guys, that's a great book if you haven't read it. The movie's okay. I think the book's way better, especially the ending. But here's a guy, he's on a redemption. He's on a redemption arc. And doesn't go the way he expects or he planned. But he's a great character. I've learned from him to hold my tongue, to not say things when the outlandish or the yarn is stretched, so to speak. And to just be more careful about how I handle things. My favorite quote of all time is "Never let them make you crawl" by John Dillinger. Read that as a teenager in one of those crime and cop books that I was reading. And it resonates. It has a different meaning today than it did then, but it totally resonates. So look, here's the thing. I'm doing a giveaway for one book and one ticket through my Instagram and podcast. So go to Instagram.com or go to Instagram on your app and go Iron Will Becker, IronWilBecker. Follow me, tag 3 friends on there. Go hit the link to either Spotify or go to the website and grab the podcast. Just pick out the books that sound interesting to you. You don't have to go through the whole thing. Find the ones that speak to you. That's how I ended up reading Sacred Marriage this last time, as it was sitting on my bookshelf. And every time I look at that bookshelf, that spine right there, that red spine would just like boop stand out to me. Like, oh, I guess I'm gonna read that one next, and give me some stuff to think about. It's changed the way that I look at marriage in a better way. It means I need to take more responsibility for things, but that's the life I choose. That's the life I want to live. It is where I take responsibility for things. All right. So double checking my iPad here for some information. So book review podcast, get on that, get on the Instagram, tag 3 people in it so you can be entered into the giveaway. It's super simple. I'm one of 23 authors writing a book. You get a book and a ticket. I'm doing this on my podcast episodes from 101 to 110. And then I'm going to do one closer to the publishing date in the event. So, hi, my friends, followers, and fellow book lovers. Hope you guys go out and make it a great day. You guys go out and make it a great month. I will talk to you later. This is I Will out.